Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. Today I am kind of sick. I don't know if I sound very sick or if I look sick, but if I do, just know it's because I'm sick. However, today, as you can already tell from the title of this video, I wanted to talk about the third book in the School for Good and Evil series. It is called The Last Upper After. I have it right here. I have the cover off, but this is the book. I've been taking notes. And today I just wanted to have a little book talk, a little discussion on some of the things that happen in this book because I really enjoyed this book and I got lots of things to say, so let's just discuss. As you'll probably notice if you've watched my other two videos, the first book and second book reviews, as said in the title, they're book reviews. This one is just going to be a book talk discussing the events and my opinions on them because, as I already said, I'm kind of sick and my head is just kind of elsewhere, but I still wanted to film this video to put a video out there, get my thoughts out there, and also to move on to the next book in the series. To continue just getting more and more excited for the fifth book coming out on March 5th. So yeah, just so you know, a little bit sick, head is kind of clouded, but it's okay because I know what I want to say about this book mostly, and so let's just get started by doing a little bit of non-spoilers about this book and then jumping into what actually happens in this book. First off, for non-spoilers, I'm not going to give too much away of the plot of this book in case for whatever reason you have not read the first two, but it still follows our two main characters, Agatha and Sophie, and again, they're pitted against each other but have to work together and also just gotta figure out what actually happens in their story and how it's all gonna end. And I don't want to say much more than that because if you have not read the other two books or are just watching this video for whatever reason, I don't want to spoil it for you, just in case. If you've never heard of The School for Good and Evil, you can click my first book review over here. I talk a little bit more in the non-spoiler section about what it's about, how I rated it, and all that kind of stuff. So if you are interested in starting the School for Good and Evil series, definitely check that video out because it does a better job of explaining the series rather than I can do right now. Moving on to my rating for this book. Currently, I just finished it about half an hour ago, so rating is pretty fresh in my mind. I'm rating it a 4 out of 5 stars because I always do full stars because Goodreads doesn't do half stars, and so if anyone looks at my book review, it's like full stars. However, I'm not sure if, at this current moment if I would give this book a 4 out of 5 stars or 4.5 out of 5 stars because this book, like the first book and the second book, like they progressed, they got better, and then this book from the second to third got even better, so the storylines have definitely improved so much. So I definitely am enjoying where this story is going, so hopefully the fourth book, as I reread it, gets even better. I'm not sure how it could because this one already is the best out of the series for me so far. I thought the last book was really good, and then this third book just really did an amazing job closing off the main trilogy as we move on to like the second trilogy in this series, if you know what I mean. I really enjoyed the character development. We saw the character interactions. There was 3 parts in this story and how each part really had distinct events, and I thought each part really was important to the story and everything that happened within those parts also added to the grand story or character development or some kind of important thing within this book. If you are watching this video without watching my other videos or have no idea what this series is about, if you like a middle grade fairy tale plot heavy story, I would definitely say the School for Good and Evil series is a really interesting series for you to pick up. I would recommend it, especially I think the series gets better, especially after the first book. So if you push through past the first book, even though the plot is pretty good, if you push past it, I definitely think the series just gets even better and better, especially in this book. I think it was the best of the 3 that I've read so far, from, as I already said, characters, plots, settings, conflicts, romance. Oh my god, the romance in this book was actually good for once. In the other books, it was not. This book, the romance was actually good. So lots of good things to say about this book. I'm rating it a 4/4.5 stars at this current moment. And stay tuned for my Goodreads. You can add me on Goodreads. I'll put it in the description. If you're interested, you can see my full written review and my final star rating, but at this current point, I will give this book a 4/4.5 stars. That's essentially it for my non-spoiler section. Again, be sure to check out that video. I linked it in the cards if you are interested in hearing more about what the series is about and my thoughts on the first book and all that kind of stuff. I think, obviously, if you're going to be starting a series, hearing what the first book is about is definitely way better than hearing about what the third book is about. So check that out if you're interested. Overall, a great book, and let's just move on. So yeah, spoilers are coming. You've been warned. We're just going to discuss a whole bunch of things. We got a notebook full of things to talk about, so if you do not want to be spoiled, please leave now. We're just gonna jump right in. One thing I want to talk about before we jump right into the story, specifically what happened, is how the series has progressed. I think the series progression has gotten so much better, whether it's because the author has become a better writer or just this is the way he intended the series to go out all along. I just think that the way these books were written, they just got better and better and better. If you've watched my other 2 reviews, you know that the first book I thought was quite problematic. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, which was a relatively low rating for me. I'm not sure now how I would rate it. Maybe like a 2 2.5 stars, but I'm again trying to stick to full star ratings, but maybe I would give that one a 2.5 stars, and then the next one a 3.5 stars, and then this one either a 4 or 4.5 stars. I didn't find anything problematic in this book specifically. In the first book I found lots of things, in the second book I found a few things, and then in this book I actually found next to nothing. So excellent job for becoming a better writer, having a better plot. Just, this book was way better than the other one. So if you've read this series, I'm not sure if you'll agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. But I thought this book was much better than its other two in the series. So if you've read the second book and are looking forward to the third book, read it, it's good. I approve. So yeah, just problematic things. I didn't really find anything in this book that I can remember off the top of my head or that I have within my little notebook worth of notes. So I definitely say from the problematic standpoint, this book, A+, very good. There's nothing else to say about that, so moving on. Characters! I got my wish. The schoolmaster's character was dived into a little bit more, especially as we work towards the end. We know that the schoolmaster is just kind of using Sophie to get the ending he wants, and Sophie kind of uses him, and so she's always been evil in a way, and we also learn backstory for the characters. Oh, we love some solid backstory. Oh, so good. Just every single character has some kind of backstory that came through and just elevated that character, whether it was Tedros, or whether it was Agatha, whether it was Sophie, whether it was the schoolmaster, whether it was Cinderella herself. We all got the backstory we needed and wanted, so A+ for that. Any character questions I feel are mostly answered. One thing I also found, this is kind of unrelated, but Sophie and Agatha tend to have these moments where people are talking to them and they'll just go into full like monologue moment. Like they'll just talk for like 5 whole minutes about something, and like no one asks you to talk for that long, but like okay, go off. Anyways, they're great. We love that. Just thought I'd add that in there. Again, characters, backstories, all great. Nothing bad to say about them from here. Also, the one more thing, Hort. Hort still deserves his happy ending. He got like everyone interested in him now. He got the grave for his father and everything. He like avenged his father by killing a Hook in the big battle thing that happened in the end. So he still deserves his happy ending, and he really wants Sophie, and I know Sophie doesn't want him, but hopefully, I low-key hope that happens because I feel that they would be good for each other. Potentially, maybe, you know? Also the fact that Hort's like wish fish thing was him and Sophie, and how it could potentially be the truth. So could this be a foreshadowing for the 5th book coming out? That's always an option. Who really knows? Anyways, enough mumbling about that, about characters. Let's just move on to events that actually happened in the book. By the way, if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at these notes. Just so you know. So in the beginning of the book, we find out that Sophie ends up like wanting to be with the schoolmaster. I have no idea how to say his name. We're just gonna call him the schoolmaster because that's also what he is. So Sophie's with him in the tower, and she is like questioning whether they should be together, but ends up just being like, you know, we should be together. And then the schoolmaster's like, maybe the historian isn't questioning only our side of the story. And then we find out that Tedros and Agatha are fighting, they're not happy with each other, and then yada yada yada, they realize that they need Sophie to have their happy ending. So at that point you're like, whoa, how is this gonna happen? It ended in the last book in like shambles. People did not know what was going on. And so there's like, no way, how are they gonna get their friend back? Tedros and Agatha made a plan to go get Sophie. They made a wish, and then that wish actually happened, which connected the 2 worlds back. But then in the end, Stefan was like, so much for promises, Agatha, and then almost killed her. But then turns out Agatha's mom was secretly a witch this whole time, and protected them and got them out into the woods, and we love her even though she's dead, and Agatha's mom deserved better even though she did find her happy ending in the end, but more on that later. Moving on to the next event. Anyway, so then Agatha and Tedros come back to the School for Good and Evil, or at least in that universe. They are not in the small town anymore, so that means that the historian is writing their story again because they know what they want, and because they know what they want, the historian writes the story. Sophie knows what they're doing, and they're trying to get her back, and she believes that she wants love more than friendship, which as a huge like theme in the story, basically being like, can you have relationships and friendships at the same time? Do they like, how do they contrast each other? How do they contradict each other? There's all those kinds of questions. But I think that theme that we explored throughout the story was really cool, and so it does an excellent job in explaining in that chapter, as we see that Tedros and Agatha are fighting for friendship as well as romance, and Sophie's trying to figure out if she can have both romance and friendship at the same time. Oh yeah, so the schoolmaster essentially plays on every fear that Sophie has, that she'll end up alone, she'll have no friends, no love, all that kind of stuff, and that was especially proven in the ending of the last book, how it was kind of sealed off with the fact that Sophie only chose the schoolmaster because she had literally nobody else, and so she found that she thought that the only way she would ever find love is by going to him because no one else would seem to love her in any kind of way, whether it be friendship, family, or romantically. So I definitely think that you can see the evil side of his character a whole lot in Evil is the New Good chapter 7 chapter. We love some notes, but you know, I think that character, like, not development, but just that we see that, like, character elements of who he is and how he uses people is really important to the story, because as we can tell as the reader, we know that he's not good for Sophie, but Sophie so strongly wants to believe that he's the one for her. And even when she doubts it, when she sees Tedros's name on her finger, which we know this already, but we know everything he's done is for his own purpose and not out of his love for Sophie, but out of what's he wants her to do for him, if that makes sense. Moving on from that, we have Merlin. He's alive, that's a thing. And I can understand that too, because if I lost both my parents and then my mentor at a young age, like, how would you feel about that? Then finding out that he's alive and that he left you all those years, it's like, obviously you'd be a little bit mad about that. So it makes sense. But anyways, he's cool and he's alive, so that's great. That's very exciting. Also, before that, I should have mentioned this first, but that the fact that they make it to the League of 13, their like household hiding place thing, and then we get introduced to Merlin. But still, all very cool. You have like the most famous heroes, and I just thought it was really cool how we see all of them in one place, how they're described, and basically how it seems like they have little to no hope that anything good is ever going to happen again. So I really think seeing that the change in their hearts and what they believe in throughout the story definitely is cool to read about. And I like especially Cinderella, her story, which I'll get into a little bit later, I think just really ties everything together, and just seeing that character progression, not even throughout the series, but through like this book specifically, through like the middle-ish to the end. I thought that like development there, all amazing. We love it. This book was so good. Oh my god, like it was just so good. As I was reading it, I was kind of reading it over like the course of like a week or something, and I was just kind of out of it for some of it. But I read like 250 pages. No, not two. I've read like over half this book in like a day or two, so I've been really enjoying this book, and it just kind of got me, like, I was kind of just bored of reading this series, but this book totally got me out of it. I've been reading it non-stop, and I've been so excited to just see what happens and everything. So I really love this book. Like, there's so many good things about it, so many like, or a lack of bad things in this book also is really good. So I just love this book. This series has definitely improved so much, and it makes me so happy, because I remember loving this series so much, and other than the first half in the first book, which kind of sucked, the rest of this series, solid, amazing. Moving on though. Oh yeah, so then we find out, or I don't know if this is completely in order, but we also find out that there's the school for new and the school for old, both taught with evil, but we just don't know what's in the school for old, even though it's the school for old, so you know, you can kind of piece the puzzles together. We also know that Eric is Lady Lusso's son and how they're working together, and the schoolmaster essentially gave him permission to kill her if he's able to. So, you know, that's awesome, you know? Moving on, teachers are inspired by Sophie's love for the schoolmaster and how like their love inspires evil, and how they can have a never after of their own, who I'm not sure entirely if that was true or not, but it seemed pretty legit at the time. So I definitely think that the idea of people having their own ever after, being like a never after, like fueled by, like, I don't even know what it's entirely fueled by, but it's not fueled by love, but like a common goal or something like that. How two people can work together for something greater than just themselves. I really loved that, and how it inspired other people seeking other like love for themselves as well. I thought was really cool, because it was like different than anything else anyone has ever seen in that fairy tale world before. Also, Hort got his grave for his father after so long. He deserved it. It was amazing, and so honestly, that boy deserves everything. Like, Hort, we love him, yes. He deserves everything. Let's just get that clear, and hopefully he gets it in the next coming books. We also learn that Hort is very much not in love with Sophie, even though we all know he is, and later he also says that he was lying. So yeah, that's exciting. And we also learn that the ring puts Tedros's name on Sophie's finger, and then that's just reignites her doubts for the schoolmaster's love, and if she loves him, and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a major plot twist that was amazing in this book, and not just because it added so much to the story, and it's like, is he, or like, is this a trick, or like, what is this? And so I definitely thought that whole element of it was really cool. I really liked it. Nothing else to say about that other than the fact that great plot, excellent, and just seeing how the characters reacted, oh, so good, so good. I also love the fact that Agatha and Tedros turned into, instead of girl and boy, boy and girl, how they changed to Edgar that might be how you say his name, and Essa. I love that because it just shows also, that just mostly shows the fact that Tedros, it shows his weakness. So far in the story, we haven't seen a whole lot of his weakness other than the fact that he's scared of not picking his true love. And so, thank God, this book actually has this amazing scene between Agatha and Tedros. Oh, so good. This book, amazing. Oh, it's so good. So good. Okay, I say that too much. It's okay. His weakness was kind of being like, everyone sees me as this big, strong prince that who can do everything, but I'm worried that if people don't see that and they see what's on the inside, they're gonna be like, wait, you were just a random person, that doesn't matter. And so I definitely think seeing how this is exposed to Agatha and just kind of changes everything, I really like that, because anytime you can see a weakness in a character that actually makes sense and like adds to the story, so good. So good. I loved that character development. Just being open enough to say this was a fact in itself of how good this was. Just, we love some strong character development. So good. Oh, there's just not enough to say about this book. One thing also that the schoolmaster kind of doesn't touch on in a way is the fact that how do fixing old stories help new stories? And then as we go along, that's a major plot thingy. How does fixing the old stories like make things better for the new stories that are going to happen? And then we see the importance of the reader world and essentially just the one town, and it's really good. I don't know what I'm going with this, but you know, the school for new and the school for old, especially the school for old, and now it's so important, and just this big grand plot, so good. I just keep saying that too much. But anyways, we're gonna move on before I say so good one more time. Anyways, ending on part 1. Just some last things. They end up getting Sophie, Agatha ends up getting Xavier. I think that's how you say it. We're gonna go with that. We're going with that. And then anyways, they get out just in time. Merlin whisks them away, and also Hort comes with them. We love Hort. He can come anytime, he's great. We start part 2 with Sophie having a dream. Now, Sophie's dreams always seem to be real, so this just was kind of interesting to read about, even though it wasn't real, but also important. She essentially is dreaming about Lancelot, who she later finds out is the guy, but basically he's trying to kill her anytime she just tries to destroy the ring. I'm not sure the whole significance of that, other than the fact that he was like sketchy to her with the ring in the first place. And so that was just cool. I liked that element. And that was kind of an interesting introduction to him as well, because we don't know anything about him, but all of a sudden we know that just that's the guy from Sophie's dream a few chapters later. So I definitely think that was a cool little thing to add in there. We also know now that Sophie is determined to take Agatha's ever after and to prove that she's the one that should be with Tedros and not Agatha. And Agatha doesn't want to, she wants to give her friend a chance, just as everyone promised, for new beginnings, because she feels that this is the only way to save good, and maybe she is truly the one that should end up alone. Just the fact that Agatha gives Sophie and Tedros the space that Sophie wants just shows that it's kind of, as this dives in through like Hort and other people in the story, that Agatha is doing this for good, but she's also not fighting for her own ending, but she does feel this is going to be the most important thing that could help their story and actually help good in the end. So, you know, props to Agatha for this, but I also enjoyed the character development we see at the end of part 2 when Agatha and Tedros kind of just like, we're meant for each other. This is who we are, meant for be. Great. I mean, it's just great. Oh man, we've progressed from good to great. It's just great. This is amazing. Okay. Oh, one thing I love is how Tedros asks Sophie like what she would bring to his kingdom if she became queen, and she gives this whole reason, but they get interrupted by zombies. Minor detail. Anyways, they end up getting there. Tedros finds his mom and Lancelot there, and that was really dramatic. Also brings out his weakness, which was great to read about. We love that. We love everything in this book. It's just great. However, just going back to that same thing, after they are more comfortable in that house and everything, and Tedros is just gone for a week or 2 or something, he asks Sophie to come with him, and basically he asks the same question, like, why do you want to be the king, or why do you want to be the queen? And she gives this reason about herself, and then he's like, you forgot everything but one thing, and it's that you love me. And I'm like, girl, you're right. Like, right? Nothing else, no other way to say this other than the fact that Sophie's only reason for wanting to be queen is because she feels she was destined for this grand life, not the fact that she actually loves the person she would be marrying. Which, you know, is kind of a crucial part, you know, just a little bit. So that was just bad on Sophie's part, but I definitely just think it brings out a little bit more in her character and what her destiny was meant to be all along. Then we get this nice little moment between Agatha and Hort has Wishfish, and we can see Hort's dream, which is to have a wedding with Sophie, and how Agatha and Tedros are there as guests, and that's why he thinks it's the truth, because he hates Tedros with every inch of his being, so why would he give them happiness and that kind of thing. So who knows, that's foreshadowing for the next books. I kind of hope it is, because I think Hort and Sophie could be good together. Just maybe a little bit. Anyways, yeah, that was a good scene. I really liked that. I also just like how Hort was a bigger part of this story. He's just a great side character. We just love him. He's great. Also, another thing that happened is how Agatha and Sophie compare the story of the scorpion and the frog to each other, and Agatha and Sophie's like, do you know that one? And Agatha's like, more than you even know. And it's like the fact that like Sophie, like the fact that like the scorpion was like, could sing the frog, but the frog was like, oh, you wouldn't do that because that's just pointless. And the scorpion accidentally or on purposely stung the frog and left them both to die. And it was kind of like, oh shoot, this is kind of like how their friendship is, because like Agatha keeps trying to help Sophie, but Sophie just keeps like betraying her, doing things even though she might not intently mean to do in a mean way. It just kind of happens. I thought that connection was really good to like add a fairy tale to a fairy tale. In that sense, I thought it was good. I'm kind of going all over the place because I just want to talk about the ending, because the ending was the best thing ever. But we get the League of 13 in the hideout place, and they end up pairing off with people, and Agatha, everyone seems to be getting along great, even Hort with Pan, and it's great. We love that character development with him also. Again, he's a great character. But the only pairs that don't seem to be working well together is Agatha and Cinderella, and then Tedros and Lancelot. And so especially after they move on past the house and go actually to fight in the war thing, just seeing how they actually connect and work together was really nice to see, especially between Agatha and Cinderella, or Ella. We'll call her Ella. Basically how the fact that Agatha could hear the wish that she wanted, just saying don't go, and the fact that Ella's like actual happy ending was with her stepsisters all along, and her stepmother was kind of the villain. The prince was just like a side character that wasn't important necessarily to the actual fairy tale, and I definitely think that was really cool to see, and also how it brought them closer, how basically she wanted to have a happy ending with her friend and make it up for the both of them. So I really like that. We also know that the more readers that believe in the evil, how evil's winning, the more the shield breaks down, and how that whole how time is of the essence thing was like a really good way to build like anticipation towards the end. I know that's what happened for me, and it was just really good to see, and especially just everything in this book was so good. Okay, one quote from this book that I thought was really amazing. We're gonna read it because it was just too good to not include in this video. This is kind of this like earth-shattering moment for Sophie, I found. So we're just gonna read this. I believe it's Lady Alessa that's saying this, and so let's just read, shall we? Your only nemesis in your story is yourself. Because to find true love with another soul, like Agatha has, first you have to find it within. To find a happy ending with someone else, first you have to find it alone. Just as Agatha once did before she met you. Anyways, I thought that was really good because that's actually kind of true, because this is kind of a thing, like you don't have to fully know who you are and everything you are, but you have to have like a certain amount of love and respect for yourself before you can give love and respect to other people. So I definitely think that quote was really good, and also almost an eye-opener for Sophie, being like, well, she might not have realized it at the time. At the end of the book, when she is happy alone, or tries to work towards being happy alone, she potentially could find actual love in the future once she's realized that who she really is, or at least more into that whole category of things. So I really loved that quote. I thought it was worth sharing. Then we get some whole backstory that we just never know we needed, but we got. And it's between Vanessa and Agatha's mom, whose name I also don't know, but that's okay. Basically the fact that Vanessa like really wanted Stefan from the beginning, and how she never got him, but then tried to like weasel her way into his life, used a love potion, and it like backfired, and then how Agatha and Sophie are sisters, and it's like crazy. And basically if you read this book, which hopefully if you're watching this you have, just how like important that backstory was, and also just how good it was, and how it all makes sense, and the fact that Agatha and Sophie can almost rewrite their like parents' history or story. It's like, oh, so good. So good. And also the fact that Agatha's mom, like, she wanted love this whole time, even though she was like a villain and was never destined to have it. she ended up having her true love being her daughter. And I was like, this book explores so many things, especially with Sophie, how people think they can only have like one type of love that matters, which is like a romantic kind of love, but there's also so many other loves that matter so much as well, or just depending on the person. It could be romantic, it could be a friendship, it could be family members, it could be so many different things, and it's just like the bond between two things. It's like oh, so good, so good. That's essentially all the notes I wrote down, because after that point I was like, this is just too many things to write down. So let's just jump in, shall we? Basically the fact that the big fight that broke out in the end, basically how all hope was lost. But okay, basically how, oh my god, Larissa, I think her name is, if I remember correctly, Professor Dovey, I think her name is, Dovey, I don't know what it is. Anyways, her and Lady Lesso, their friendship together, how you could be good and evil at the same time and still have this great friendship. I really see how it inspired Sophie as well as Agatha, but mostly Sophie, how basically you could betray evil for friendship, which is what Sophie ended up doing in the end. And I was like, yes, this is the ending we all needed, we all deserved, and we all just wanted, okay? It was so good. It was so good. Moving on, we got this big fight. The end is near, the sun is literally about to set in 3 seconds, and the schoolmaster is essentially getting Sophie to kill her father, and he's gonna kill her 2 friends. And once they do this, essentially Sophie has no choice but to stay with him, because she's killing the family, the only family she has, and then he's killing her only friends. So after that, she would almost be like bound to him forever in a way, and the only way that would make her feel loved. So that would give her love. And so just the fact that she stepped down from that after her and Agatha had a little moment, it was like, yes, Sophie, you're finally seeing the importance of doing the right thing. Even though you are evil, you don't have to do evil things. You can do the right thing, even if it means betraying evil, which is what was already shown from an old story with with Lady Lasso, which I really liked. So the ending was here. That last chapter was just great. They're about to go off to Tedros' kingdom. Agatha's there, Merlin's there, the parents are there, or not parents, but Tedros' mom and Lancelot were there. They're all gonna go, and then Sophie jumps into the castle for 1 second, and now she's the new Dean of Evil. And I'm like, girl, get it? Like, this is what we deserve. You're gonna make evil so much better, hopefully anyways, and I just love it. And then at the end, how Hort's like, wait, who's this new person you're so happy with? And she's like, it's me. And I'm like, this is what we all wanted from the very beginning, just for Sophie to be happy, just be happy with herself. She doesn't need anyone else to be happy, and if she does find someone else, at least she can still be happy within herself. Might end up being a longer video now that I'm done rambling on for quite a bit, but this is just a casual video. Wanted to discuss again how amazing this book was. This is definitely my favorite in the series, for sure, so I'm not 100% sure if it's 4 or 4.5 stars yet, but it's definitely better than the last book. Definitely better than the last book, so I might have to adjust some ratings. But this book, I thought, sealed off the main trilogy really, really well. There's going to be a few more books, I believe, in the Camelot years, I believe it's called. Maybe, but like there's going to be more books there. And so I definitely think the main trilogy definitely progressed really well. And I'm hoping that this great writing and plots and characters and all that kind of stuff just improves and gets better even more in the 4th, 5th, and who knows how many more books from there. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below if you enjoyed this book. If you're still watching at this point, tell me your favorite parts, character development, plot. What did you like the best? Let me know. I'm just interested. It should be a good time. I like this book, as I already said. And yeah, that's all I have for today. So, until next time with a new video, I will see you then, and until then, bye.